So another term that we're going to be dealing with is assimilation. Let's define some more terms. Permanent residents. Permanent residents these are immigrants who have entered a country under the provisions of the immigration law, and the name suggests a great deal about their status. They may remain in the U.S. permanently under the status unless they give up permanent residence by moving abroad for lengthy periods or by committing a crime which results in their deportation. So most often a permanent resident, this is the process. Once an immigrant is accepted into this country, they get their permanent residency first. And so they have 5 years, and then they are given the option of naturalizing as a U.S. citizen. So we'll explore this later in the course. Then there is the term undocumented workers. To those who enter a country without legal residence or authorization, they don't have documents to prove their official entry. These immigrants we will identify in this course as undocumented workers. Now, most often, the U.S. media and other society and our society at large, because they think that these peoples, because they have come into this country without documents, that they are criminals. And so the connotation illegal is very important. They call them aliens, illegal aliens. But I have never seen an alien before outside of what Hollywood has created for the general public consumption. And how many times do we get fascinated by outer space beings coming to Earth and destroying what humans have created? Okay, you know, the Transformers are all these aliens coming out. Think of all those alien beings who are weird and unfriendly that Hollywood has implanted in our cultural dialogue. Okay, of course, the one that was most impressive that started out everything was E.T. E.T. I don't think E.T. Ever identified himself as illegal. He was just an alien from outside the universe. But I have never seen an illegal alien, never in my life. So does that mean that E.T. doesn't have the right to phone home? Has anyone ever encountered an illegal E.T.? If so, does ICE or Immigration and Customs Enforcement allow ETs to phone home? In this course, we will refrain from using illegal alien. It is a derogatory and inhumane term to address a situation that people don't have control over. And that is that they don't have documents, but they're workers. So these are undocumented workers, undocumented immigrant workers. Okay. Now the next phrase is human trafficking. The next concept. There is a term that we're going to be used to identify people who are forcibly removed from their homes to new markets for labor-related purposes. Now, historically, we need to appreciate this human trafficking because it was known as slavery. And this kind of human trafficking has had major repercussions because we still have the post-traumatic slave disorder in our society, and that's why we have Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter is very important because we need to address human trafficking, the consequences of human trafficking. And basically, there is this phenomenon that has expanded, especially in the Asian communities. So human trafficking is a crime against humanity. It involves an act of recruiting, transporting, transferring, harboring, and receiving a person through the use of force, coercion, or other means for the purpose of exploiting them. So in the United States, here in Los Angeles, in all of the major cities, thousands of men, women, and children fall into the hands of traffickers. In fact, every country in the world, every capitalist country, especially the United States, is affected by this trafficking. Because the transit or the destination of its victims, the United Nations has addressed. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, the guardian of the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime and the protocol thereto, assists states in their efforts to implement the protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons. And this trafficking in persons is very important because it is a lucrative industry. It is now the fastest growing criminal industry in the world. And globally, it is tied with the illegal arms trade as the second largest criminal activity following the drug trade. So most major forms of trafficking include forced labor, sex trafficking, bonded labor, debt bondage, involuntary domestic servitude, forced child labor, child soldiers, child sex trafficking. So in our course, we will refer to slaves and those swept into the web of human trafficking as involuntary immigrants.